right, let's face it, a lot of you guys and gals don't really have a system to manage your leads from contact all the way to close. And I'm going to show you behind the curtain, under the hood, how we're able to manage our lead flow. In my business, we do multiple six figures a month, and the idea is that no lead is left behind. Now, this is a very easy to understand concept, but applying it and actually getting it done is a whole nother beast. And so maybe you can imitate what we're doing here. You don't necessarily need to buy expensive software. Maybe you can create a Google Sheet and just put these tables. But I'm going to go through each stage of a motivated seller journey in our business so you understand really what messaging is for each stage and how it all works together. Okay. So in our business, we focus on inbound lead generation. We find that the sales cycle is a lot quicker, a lot faster. We also understand that motivation and intent is there. And it's also better to be able to close over the phone when somebody is reaching out with their pain point right now and there versus outbound. In outbound, the sales cycle is a little bit longer. They may not have the intent, they may be able. And so we always want to be talking with willing and able sellers. If you don't have willing and able sellers to wake up to and actually make cash offers on, it'll be pretty much impossible for you to scale a freaking business. Like, it amazes me how damn crazy is it to think that you're going to be able to make any significant amount of income if you are not investing in lead generation, if you actually don't have motivated sellers to wake up to and have conversations, much less get closers that are probably less qualified than you are to close for you. So we didn't really get into this to essentially be slaves to our business. We got into this because we don't want to work like slaves all the time. But unfortunately, again, the concept is simple, the application is complex. With that said, I want you to go ahead and take some notes here because I'm going to go over the stages of our pipeline, kind of how they work, and maybe you can imitate some of these. So I'm not showing any of our leads because obviously, there's private information, but essentially here, when a new lead comes in, a new seller contact, what we want to go ahead and do is reach out to them as soon as possible. Let me show you behind the scenes. So right here, I am in what we call the automation for dialer number 2, meaning new seller lead. You will notice that right off the bat, we are having different lead sources coming in. And this is not meant to overwhelm you, but this is essentially some cheat code here for you to see kind of how these processes work. You notice that we go ahead and contact the person super fast, like ASAP, and we send notifications and we call multiple times the first day. Not only do we call, we text message, we email, we call, we text message, we email, we call, we text message and email. And we do that at least for a couple of days, all the way through day, I want to say 14 or so, right? Day 15. So why? Because our motivated sellers, they don't have their life organized. They don't remember the last form that they filled out. And it is our job to liquidate that ad spend as soon as possible. One of the key things that you want to actually track when you are dealing with this is you want to be tracking in your KPIs, obviously the test count, but you want to be tracking your speed to lead. Your speed to lead is huge because if you don't know how fast your team, they're closing, then it'll be really hard for you to understand, how fast our leads are getting actually contacted. So we want to keep that below 5 minutes, okay? And what we like to do is we like to have a Slack channel set up where if our closers are busy, our coordinators are calling those leads as soon as possible. Now, with that said, that is only touching the surface of what the new seller contact does. And you'll notice that in some of these headers on stages, we have like all here, that we have closers, that we have coordinators, right? Later on in the process. And the idea with that is that everybody knows and is clear as to kind of who's responsible and also the opportunities to get assigned to each individual. So new seller contacts is all about speed to lead and making sure that we're always pushing them to schedule a call. We want to move them from new lead all the way to active negotiations, right? We want to move them to active negotiations. And we do that with a dynamic calendar. So in that dynamic calendar, meaning just a calendar where people can just book a call, they set a time. And our hope is that not only they set a time, but that they don't fill out any more forms. Okay, so that's for new seller contact. Now, if a seller responds, let's say they call, they text, they email, and we miss that call, or we're busy or whatever, we move them over to active seller lead. In the active seller lead, all we're doing is following up. We know that that lead is an active seller. They have responded. Let me show you kind of what that looks like. In our active seller lead, you'll notice that the AI kicks in because they've actually gone ahead and responded. So our AI is going to be doing a lot of the booking of appointments. Now, whether they respond to the AI or not doesn't really matter. Again, we're going to be calling them, we're going to be texting them, we're going to be emailing them, we're going to be dropping a voicemail, and we're going to keep doing that and doing that and doing that with the end goal of actually booking an appointment. You see, if you are not waking up to motivated seller appointments, you have a disadvantage with the rest. And you only need a system and you need leads, right? Those are the two key ingredients to actually result in appointments. And I'll be honest with you, the show up rate is horrible, even though we have reminders, even though, we have a lot of follow up and credentials and testimonials and all that. Why? Because these people typically do not have their life together. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. Okay. And so with that said, I want to make sure, with that, I want you to understand that the goal for you is whenever you get a lead, touching base with them as soon as possible and getting them on the calendar is crucial. It's absolutely crucial so that you can actually convert that marketing into dollars as soon as possible. So that was active seller lead. Now, you'll notice here that, we have wholesalers in a different bucket, right? Because we do get some wholesalers that end up in our funnel asking for, a cash offer. But I'm going to jump into kind of the meat and potatoes of it, right? So once we're in active negotiations, which is owned by the closer, because in our point of view, let's say you have 3, 4, 5 closers, all these other leads are still up for grabs, right? Because whether we talk with them or somebody else does, somebody's going to close them. So our closers are constantly essentially reaching out to these other people regardless, right? Up until the point they start active negotiations. Once they start active negotiations, in that call, it's important to actually get to the point of an offer. Now, it's either going to be a lay down, which means they're going to contract it and do the hesitant close, or they're going to make an offer knowing that it's going to end up being in some sort of negotiation rejection, right? And so that's why whenever it gets to this point, this is where all roads meet. Okay, so after that call, okay, and it could be 1 or 2 or 3 different calls, but after that thorough call, if that person's willing to stay on the phone, have a conversation, we're going to go ahead and present an offer eventually, right? And in this offer rejected stage, really what we're doing with our messaging is pushing them to make an offer, is pushing them to say, hey, why don't you just go ahead and counter? How close can you get to this? And the idea is to keep the conversation alive and well so that we can figure out a way to make a deal happen. Obviously, if the deal doesn't make sense at all, we can go ahead and push it out to cold seller or bad timing, depending on how far out we think that we should follow up. And the idea is that this constant cycle of seller leads that come in, they say ideally they respond, they schedule an appointment, or they start negotiations with a closer, and hopefully they close. If they don't, they reject. So we seek an offer rejection or offer counter. For us, if they no show, we remind them, hey, you no showed. I know life gets busy. When can we go ahead and schedule a time? And so we're doing this constant cycle ecosystem so that we maximize our lead flow marketing and our return on ad spend. This is huge because if you don't do that, you're going to miss out on revenue, right? Now, once the deal is contracted, this is probably for another time, another video, but once the deal is contracted, it gets handed over to the coordinators. Why is that important? Because the closers need to be closing. Okay, so if you're a solo operator and you're kind of getting yourself off the ground, or you are an experienced person and you're scaling a team, the coordinators are supposed to not only be coordinating with title, but they should be coordinating as well with buyer agents, locksmiths, pictures, inspections, all that stuff, so that the closer can focus on closing. Okay. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to hop on a 15-minute free strategy call, we do a free 15-minute, audit kind of on deal flow to see what pieces in your business may need some work. Go ahead and go to reimachines.io/call. You can book a free 15-minute audit call with myself and my team, and we'll be happy to point out what may be missing on what we know works scaling real estate investors. All right. Hope you enjoy the video. Let me know in the comments what sort of questions you have, and I'll be happy to do some future videos on it. God bless.